Behold, the mystical Guadalupe. Hey Tubies, it's Psychic Bob. Well, it is so wonderful to be back with you today. Well, how do you like her? This is my official portrait of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And Our Lady of Guadalupe has quite an amazing and fascinating history. She appeared on this earth in the year 1531 to a man named Juan Diego. And the story is really quite miraculous. Basically, Mary appeared as she appears in this image here. She was dressed in a beautiful pink cloak, or pink gown, and then a beautiful kind of aqua-colored, turquoise-colored cloak that has stars around it. And we're going to go into the details of each of the imagery in the image in just a little while. But the story is that she appeared to Juan Diego as he was walking on his way to go to church one day. And she appeared up on a hill called the Hill of Tepeyac. And the Hill of Tepeyac was where an old shrine to the ancient goddess Tonantzin was. Tonantzin is the Aztec goddess of the Great Mother. And Tonantzin's name literally means our mother, or our revered mother. And during this time, the Spanish conquistadors had conquered Mexico, and they had been rather brutal, actually, to many of the Aztecs. They destroyed the Aztec shrines and forced, basically, Catholicism on everyone. A lot of the Aztecs, though, were so upset and lost faith in divinity because they felt that their gods had abandoned them and they could not be protected. And one day, one of the converts to the Catholic Church, Juan Diego was his name, he's now Saint Juan Diego, was literally walking on his way to church. Now, in those days, he had to walk like 4 or 5 miles on foot just to go to church. But he was passing Tepeyac Hill when he said that he saw a beautiful light, and this lady stepped from the light, and she was dressed as you see her here. And she said to him, she said, "Juan, you are my dear son." And she said, "I come to let you know that I am with you and that you don't have to fear." And in fact, I'll read a quote that Our Lady of Guadalupe said. By the way, the name of this is Guadalupe, Our Lady of Guadalupe. And this is what she said. She says, she basically wanted him to build a temple to her on Tepeyac Hill. And she said that if he built that temple, she said, "Here I will show and offer all my love, my compassion, my help and protection to the people. I am your merciful mother, the mother of all who love me, of those who cry to me, of those who have confidence in me. Here I will hear their weeping and their sorrows, their necessities and misfortunes. Listen and let it penetrate your heart. Do not be troubled or weighed down with grief. Do not fear any illness or vexation, anxiety or pain. Am I not here, who am your mother? Are you not under my shadow and protection? Am I not your fountain of life? And are you not in the folds of my mantle, in the crossing of my arms? Is there anything else you need?" And it says, these were the words of the Blessed Virgin spoken to Juan Diego on the 9th and 12th of December, 1531, at Guadalupe, Mexico. And so Our Lady appeared. Now, what's really interesting about this is that not only did she appear in this form, she told Juan Diego, "Go to the bishop and tell him that I want a temple here built, a temple for me to connect with the people." Well, he went to the bishop, and the local bishop said, Juan, lay off the sauce. You've been drinking. But Juan says, no, Your Excellency, I haven't been drinking. This is not an imagination, not a hallucination. And so the bishop said, well, I'm sorry, I just don't believe you. And so Juan left the bishop's palace dejected, and on his way home, he saw the lady again. She appeared on Tepeyac Hill, and she said, did you deliver my message to the bishop? And Juan said, I tried, but he would not receive me. And she said, I will give you a sign that he will believe you. And she said, come here tomorrow in the morning, and I will bring you what you need. So the next day what happened is, he was on his way to Tepeyac Hill, and he got the word that his uncle was dying. Somebody contacted him, and he ended up not going to see Mary, and he rushed to his uncle's house. And he got to his uncle's house, and his uncle said, a beautiful lady came and healed me. And basically, Juan's uncle, who was near death, miraculously survived. And his uncle claims to have seen a lady. Now, he didn't know it was Mary. He just said, a beautiful lady came and healed me. Well, Juan went home. He was so happy his uncle had survived the near death. And he forgot to go to Tepeyac Hill. Well, the next day he thought, oh, I should go up there. Maybe I should explain to her. So he went up to Tepeyac Hill the next day. And Mary appeared again to him there again. And she said, I am Our Lady of Guadalupe. And that's the name she wished to be known by. And she said, you did not come yesterday. And he said, my uncle was near death. And she said, I am the one who came to him and healed him. So she did her first miracle in healing the uncle of Juan Diego. Well, then he said, but how am I to convince the bishop? He doesn't believe me. And she said, I want you to go further up the hill, and you'll find a rose bush there. Now, this was in December, and the middle of winter, and no roses bloom in December. And Juan Diego did as Our Lady of Guadalupe asked, and he climbed further up the hill, and he did find a bush filled with roses. And they were the most beautiful Castilian roses, like the type that grow in Spain. And he basically said, well, what do I do? How does this help? And Mary said to him, take your cloak off and fill it with roses. Wrap them up and bundle them in the cloak. Take them to the bishop. He will believe. Juan was pretty amazed to see full roses in bloom on a cold December morning. That was a miracle. So he grabbed all of the roses off the rose bush, filled his cape literally to his fold. He tied it, and he carried this bundle of roses to the bishop. Well, when the bishop saw him, he said, oh, Juan, how are you? He said, I have evidence, what you asked. And he unopened his cloak and poured out the roses. Well, the bishop was amazed because he said, where did you get roses at this time of year? And then, before Juan could answer, the bishop fell on the ground in shock. And he said, my God, it's true. And Juan didn't know what was going on. And Juan looked, and the cloak that he had folded the roses up in was now imprinted with this very image, the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe as she appeared to him. And so the bishop said, where is this from? And he said, I don't know. Our Lady must have given it to me. Well, they took the cloak and examined it and determined that it truly was miraculous, that this was not a painted image, but was somehow imprinted on the cloak, but yet there were no traces of paint or brush strokes. And so it was considered the miracle. And this actual portrait that I have is a photographic replica on canvas of the original cloak of Juan Diego of Guadalupe. And this very cloak hangs today in Mexico City in the Cathedral of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And you can go see it to this very day. And anyways, I thought you'd like to hear the story. Now, what's really interesting is there's been a lot of scientific study on this cloak. And I'm going to go into some of the details here to show you some specifics. So, join me for a further exploration. Now, I thought you would enjoy seeing a little more up-close view of the cloak with the image. And this is my copy is actually framed. It's actually printed on canvas. It's an actual photographic replica on canvas. So it's almost exactly like the original cloak. Anyways, what you'll notice here is that Mary is wearing a beautiful blue cloak. Now what is interesting is that this specific color was the color of royalty of the Aztec Empire. You know, modern day royals wear purple, but in those times and in that location, turquoise was considered the color of royalty. And so Mary is here wearing the cloak of royalty, meaning she is a queen. Okay, now you'll notice her beautiful pink gown. It's the color of the roses that are local to this region. And so it's a sign also of her presence in that area. Interestingly, on the cloak, it's a little hard to see, but there are pictures of various plants, and these plants are native to that specific region. And what's interesting is it's only in that certain area of Mexico that the plants depicted on her robe grow. And they're perfectly etched in detail, you can see. But it's just a beautiful work of art. Now, what's also fascinating is scientists have studied the image and they can detect no brush strokes. It's as if the coloring was infused all the way through the fibers. But yet they see no signs of necessarily a printing. There was no printing presses in the area at that time, and they're not sure how the image got on. It's interestingly because they've analyzed it, and it's not even paint. It's colored pigment, but they cannot match it to any local source or any dyes that were known at the time. You'll see around her the aureole. This is the light that Juan Diego said there was a rays of light that came off of her. And so this is to reflect that. Now, some people have speculated that the rays may have been added later. That may not have been part of the original image, but it was in his original description. You'll notice that Mary's image itself has no decay. This was in 1531 that it came to be, and it's flawless. They've done what do you call it, x-ray studies of it. There seems to be no underpainting. They can't find it. Usually when a portrait is done, there's usually a sketching done and then it's painted. There's no undersketching. They've used infrared photography to see if there are multiple layers of paint, and they said this does not match any form of painting. It's very, very fascinating. For about 500-year-old cloak, it's perfectly preserved. Now, what's interesting is in the early days, they didn't know how to preserve this. So they literally just hung the cloak on the wall in a church, and it was unprotected, and they had candles and incense. But yet, the pigments have not faded. And the cloak that it is imprinted on is made of a cactus fiber that in the best of conditions only lasts about 20 years. This cloak is over 500 years old, or almost 500 years old, I should say. And there is no decay to the cloak or the fibers nor the pigments. You will notice here there are some stains on the image. As I said, the original cloak had been preserved unprotected. And there was an incident of flooding where there was water damage to the cloak at one point. And then when they did decide to frame it in the late 1800s, some of the framers were using a special cleaner for the glass, and it spilled on the cloak. So there is some damage from natural or from man-made accidents and some natural accidents. But the actual image of Our Lady itself has never decayed. Very fascinating. Now you'll notice down here beneath her feet there is a moon as well. And this actually fits with the ancient pagan beliefs that the goddess is the goddess of the moon. And, you know, from the Catholic perspective, it represents some passages in the Bible that connect the end times with the moon and the sun and the stars. Speaking of stars, on the cloak here, you'll notice there are a number of stars. Scientists have evaluated the stars and have discovered that they fit the exact pattern of the night sky that was present on the nights of the apparition. And so if you were to take off Mary's cloak and lay it out, it would actually be a perfect star map of the sky. This is absolutely fascinating. So as you can see, there's a lot of beautiful mystical imagery. Many of the pagan community view Our Lady of Guadalupe as an aspect of the goddess. Some even call her Tonantzin because she appeared at the hill of Tonantzin, and believe that she is actually an incarnation of the goddess. I tend to believe that. I view this as a divine image and believe she truly is the Great Mother. There's an angel you'll see below that holds her, and the angel is showing that he is her servant. And so he lifts her, the power of the angels, to lift and carry a moon and Our Lady of Guadalupe. Beautiful, beautiful image. One of the things that's most fascinating that has intrigued science about the image is that they brought in an ophthalmologist to study the eyes, because many people have seen the actual eyes say that it almost looks as if they're alive. And when an ophthalmologist went in and studied the eye, they discovered that, amazingly, there is a reflection in the eye of what appears to be a group of people, among them being Juan Diego. This is a portrait from the time of Juan Diego as he appeared. And in the eyes, they discovered that there is a refraction that matches the refraction of a human eye. The scientists show it this way, that if you study a human eye and there's a reflection, it bends the reflection at a certain angle. As you can see here, there are a group of people that are standing in front of this model, and their image is reflected in the eye. And you can see the curvature because of the lens of the eye. Well, within the portrait of Guadalupe, there is actually painted, or appears to be an actual reflection of Juan Diego. Now, this was not discovered until an ophthalmologist studied it, so it would not be possible to paint it by human hands. Just one more mystery in the cloak of Guadalupe. Now, Our Lady of Guadalupe takes a lot of different forms, and most often she's shown in her portrait form as she appeared on the cloak. And this image, as I said, is currently enshrined in Mexico at the temple or the Cathedral of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City. And to this day, you can actually go and see it. And it literally looks exactly like this, and it's about the same size. So pretty amazing. But Mary's also found throughout Mexico and by her devotees in her three-dimensional form as well, which I'll show you here. Now, I've loved Our Lady of Guadalupe for years and have collected images of her. And this is one of my statues. I showed this to you yesterday, and I love it because it's done in kind of muted tones like you find in like the Southwest. And you can see there's the angel and the moon, and there's her beautiful cloak with beautiful stars on it, and her gown with the plants and the beautiful rays of light like you see in the original picture behind her here. So this is my one statue. It's about 16 inches tall. I also have another statue which is much larger, and this one is about 21 inches tall, just to give you a sense of scope. This one I actually bought and had shipped from Mexico. Absolutely beautiful. It's made of fiberglass, and you can see the detail on it. Spectacular. Beautiful angel. Look at the beautiful gold work on it. They really captured, like the original portrait, the flowers and the robes, the rose-colored robe. And they really got the color right here with the beautiful turquoise with the stars. And she has a beautiful three-dimensional halo around her. This is a beautiful halo that actually attaches to the back of the statue, but it flares out. Isn't that beautiful? And you can see her beautiful face. Now on this one, it has a crown over her because her title is Queen of Mexico. She's also called the Empress of the Americas. Isn't she beautiful though? Look at her face, so lifelike. There's her hands. Her hands are held in prayer as she prays and intercedes for people and all of their needs. But I am crazy about the statue, and I think it's just magnificent. So I'm a big fan of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Now, as I told you guys, I believe that Guadalupe is a form of the great ancient mother, the goddess. But don't take my word for it. In fact, in Mexico, there are practitioners of the ancient arts of magic. And in magic, witchcraft is called brujeria, and it means the craft of the witches. And in many Mexican witchcraft covens, they invoke Our Lady of Guadalupe as the form of the great goddess. In fact, there's a book I would recommend if you want to explore working with Our Lady of Guadalupe in a magical way, and it's called Magic from Mexico. And it's written by Mary Divine, and you'll see it has Guadalupe on the cover. But basically, this gives rituals for how to set up an altar, how to do spells with Guadalupe. It's a really great book. Just to give you a quick insight here, here's a simple setup from this book. Basically, to do brujeria, it's much more simple than you realize. Basically, what you need is a table. So like we have a table here. And it says in the book to put a white altar cloth on. Well, this is my Christmas Yule altar, so I have the silver cloth on. But in a normal day with brujeria, you'd put white on. And then all you need are 2 candles. Okay, and you see I got candles here. A statue of Guadalupe. A chalice for holy water. And then your ritual tools are a simple knife, which would be your athame. But they recommend you buy just a regular kitchen knife. That's what I have here. And then a wand. And they say just cut a branch off of any tree. This actually is a carved wand that I bought, but I just think it looks like kind of Spanish revival with the dark carved wood, like you'd see in Mexico from the time. And but I have a wand, a wand, a knife, and a chalice with holy water, and 2 candles, and Guadalupe. And that's basically the essential tools of brujeria. So anyways, that's just a little insight. Oh, and also have an incense holder. And here I have an incense. You see, I'm using my triple moon because I believe that she's the moon mother as she stands on the moon. So, but if you want to learn more about working with Our Lady of Guadalupe and spells and rituals, definitely get this book, Magic from Mexico. Totally recommend it. And it's by Mary Divine. It's published by Llewellyn. You can see the star there. Okay. Mary Divine is spelled D-E-V-I-N-E. Magic from Mexico. Well, guys, I'm sure glad that you came along with us today. And I hope this has given you a little more insight to this wonderful mystical image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And I hope that you'll explore this and consider working with her. And for those of you who have been writing to me and said, Psychic Bob, I believe that I want to work with Mary. Is that acceptable as a Wiccan? Well, you know, maybe in a traditional coven, they may not understand it. But, you know, be eclectic. I'm an eclectic Wiccan. And in the eclectic Wiccan path, we say that the Mother Goddess takes many forms. And many of us do believe that the Virgin Mary is a form of the goddess, a new incarnation, a new face. And Our Lady of Guadalupe is definitely a face of the goddess in my book. So yes, you can work with Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's done throughout Mexico by many of the brujas. Brujas, Spanish for witch. And the brujos, which is the male witches. So yes, Our Lady of Guadalupe is loved, adored, treasured, and worked with magically. I hope wherever you are today that you're having a blessed day. And I thank you guys for being here. And listen, if you didn't see yesterday's video, check it out. We had messages from the spirit world. It was a lot of fun. Had a great turnout. And, you know, definitely check that out. If you want to help me out, like this video, favorite it, share it with your friends, hit subscribe, be part of our channel. We'd love you to be here. Well, I'm going to sit and have a little chit chat and a cup of tea with Our Lady of Guadalupe. Thanks for being here, guys. I love you. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Thursday for Vlog Thursday. We're going to go have an adventure. Make sure to be here. You don't want to miss it. I love you guys. Sending you blessings. Keep it here at Spirit Channel. Like this video, favorite it, share it with your friends, hit subscribe. We'll be back here. I'll see you then. And until then, may you always blessed be.